From politics to lifestyle, people have different opinions, and everyone is trying to prove a point when it comes to disagreement. Hi, my name is Pavlina. Welcome to my channel, Your Average Millennial. And today, my friends, we're gonna dive deep into tricks and tips of how to win an argument. Rumi, an ancient poet, once said, "Raise your words, not your voice. It's the rain that makes the flower grow, not the thunder." So let's go back to the origin of the word argument. Argument comes from the 14th century French word of the same spelling, meaning statements and reasons in support of proposition. An argument can be a fact used as evidence to show that something is true. From Latin, argument is argumentum, meaning a logical argument, evidence, ground, support, or proof. Let's talk about the blind man and the elephant. The parable of the blind man and the elephant originated in the ancient Indian subcontinent, from where it has been widely diffused. It's a story of a group of blind men who have never come across an elephant before, and who learn to conceptualize what an elephant is like by touching it. Each blind man feels a different part of the elephant's body, but only one part, such as the side of the tusk. They then describe the elephant based on their limited experience, and their descriptions of the elephant are different from each other. In some versions, they came to suspect that the other person is dishonest, and they came to blows. The moral of the parable is that humans have a tendency to claim absolute truth based on their limited, subjective experience, as they ignore other people's limited, subjective experiences, which may be equally true. At some point of your life, you're gonna stumble upon a fallacy. A fallacy is a mistaken belief, a failure in reasoning, or misleading or unsought argument. It was a big thing in ancient world, and still it is to this day. How many times you hear, "That's the way we've always done it," or "If everyone jumped off a cliff, would you do it too?" You can even spot a fallacy in some commercials. "We are making our furniture the best way, the old way." Meaning it's an assumption that the old way is the right way, or the same way, with no proof whatsoever. Yeah, or just simply by using a famous person. Because this person is famous, we should trust, therefore, what he or she is using. Here are a few of thousands examples.
Just one lemon left.
Lemon Skittles are my favorite.
They're my favorite.
Let's settle it the usual way.
Let's settle it the usual way!
Settle it the usual way. The usual way. Settle it.
Let's settle it the usual way!
Settle it the usual way.
Settle it! Woo!
Let's settle it the usual way.
Yep, you got the idea. There are many types of fallacies, but today, my friends, we're gonna focus on one particular one: ad hominem. Ad hominem, which means literally at him, ignoring the content of opponent's argument and instead attacking the opponent's character. It's when feelings overcome logic. Instead of saying, "This is not a good idea," you're saying, "You're dumb." Ad hominem arguments can take many forms, from basic name callings to more complex rhetoric. For example, an ad hominem argument can involve simply insulting a person instead of properly replying to a point that they raised. Or it can involve questioning their motives in response to their criticism of the current state of things.
Sorry my opponent didn't think enough of you to show up for this debate. I'm sure he had more important things to do.
Sorry I'm late, everyone. Somebody tampered with my brakes.
Well, then you should have been early.
Hey, got you there, eh?
Oh, come on, people. This man has promised round-the-clock trash pickup. That's impossible.
Not if we hire more men. And my men will do all your messy jobs. They'll wash your car, scrub your shower, air out your stinkables.
I can't believe what I'm hearing.
Well, then you better turn up your hearing aid, Pops.
Pops? I'm only 2 years older than you.
Do we want old man Patterson here with his finger on the button?
What button? What the hell are you talking about?
What?
Exactly, what are you talking about? So how you should respond to an unhominid argument depends first and foremost on whether the argument is reasonable. If an ad hominem argument is reasonable, then you should respond to it properly, as you would to any other type of reasonable argument. For example, if an ad hominem argument raised a reasonable concern with regard to the motivation behind your stance, the proper response should be to address that concern. I'm about to show you a clip that shows a perfect example of ad hominem argument, which is reasonable. It's on Steve Jobs and one man who tries to insult him.
Yes.
Mr. Jobs, you're a bright and influential man.
Here it comes.
It's sad and clear that on several counts you've discussed, you don't know what you're talking about. I would like, for example, for you to express in clear terms how, say, Java, in any of its incarnations, addresses the ideas embodied in OpenDoc. And when you're finished with that, perhaps you could tell us what you personally have been doing for the last 7 years.
You know, you can please some of the people some of the time, but one of the hardest things when you're trying to affect change is that people like this gentleman are right in some areas. I'm sure that there are some things OpenDoc does, probably even more that I'm not familiar with, that nothing else out there does. And I'm sure that you can make some demos, maybe a small commercial app that demonstrates those things. The hardest thing is, how does that fit in to a cohesive, larger vision that's going to allow you to sell $8 billion, $10 billion of product a year?
What Steve Jobs did was acknowledge the attack and move on. This is similar to ignoring an ad hominem attack, except that you first acknowledge it explicitly before moving on with the discussion. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to agree with the attack. Rather, it means that you have to show that you're aware of it, which might look better than ignoring it entirely. Okay, let's get into it. If an ad hominem argument is fallacious, there are various ways you can respond to it, including, most notably, the following. Out the irrelevance of the attack. You can do this by pointing out that the personal attack has nothing to do with the discussion at hand, and by calling out your opponent on their fallacious reasoning. It's best to not become defensive when doing this, and if necessary, you should go on the offense and ask your opponent to justify why their personal attack is relevant to the discussion. On to the attack directly. I'm about to show you an example of how to respond to the attack directly from two different interviews of Robert Downey Jr. and Quentin Tarantino, provoked from the same interviewer, Krishnan Guru Murthy. He is very famous with his passive aggressiveness, which reminds me, by the way, to check out my previous video about passive aggressiveness. Thank you.
Round of interviews, and that's why we're talking about the movie, but we also would like to talk a little bit about you, and I don't know how comfortable you are talking about yourself at the moment.
You have as much time as anyone else will.
You've talked in other interviews again about your relationship with your father and the role of all of that in the dark periods you entered and taking drugs and drinking and all of that. And I just wondered whether you think you're free of all of that, or whether that's still something.
I'm sorry, I really don't. What are we doing?
Well, I'm just asking questions. That's all.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
are you? I'm sorry. People or anything.
It's
like
not
that,
trashed by more people. What you're saying is not correct. It's
No,
not trashed by more people.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying, but are you concerned? I mean,
No, I'm not talking about the movie right now. You're talking about, I'm talking about there is actually a dialogue going on about slavery right now that has not been happening at all.
Why are you so sure that there's no link between enjoying movie violence and enjoying real violence?
I'm going to tell you why I'm so sure. Do not ask me a question like that. I'm not biting. I refuse your question.
Why?
Because I refuse your question. I'm not your slave and you're not my master. You can't make me dance to your tune.
I'm
not a monkey.
I can't make you answer anything. I'm asking you interesting questions.
And I'm saying I refuse.
Okay. Well, no, I was just asking you why.
To respond to those provocations are simply to just ignore it.
Camila, Cabellino, Cabello. Tiffany,
Awkward. Way to respond for fallacy is to acknowledge it and just simply moving on. I have a perfect example. Watch the clip of Miley Cyrus and Nicki Minaj.
Back to this that had a lot to say about me the other day in the press. Miley, what's good?
Hey, we're all in this industry. We all do interviews, and we all know how they manipulate. Nikki, congratulations. And just because the VMAs have already started...
This is similar to ignoring an ad hominem attack, except that you first acknowledge it explicitly before moving on with the discussion. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have to agree with the attack. Rather, it means that you have to show that you're aware of it, which might look better than ignoring it entirely. To do this, you can use language such as, I get it that you think that I'm X, but that doesn't have anything to do with what we're discussing here. I'm not gonna address it at all. So yeah, different options will work better in different situations, and you can choose your preferred approach based on factors such as the nature of the ad hominem attack, the content in which it was used, or your goals for the discussion in which it was used. Side note, if you really like my sweater like I do, it's from the merch of my favorite YouTuber and influencer, Shalon Lester. I love you, girl, if you're watching this. Probably not. I'm gonna put the link down below. Woo! So much for watching my video. Stay tuned till next Sunday where we're gonna discuss another fallacy. Until then, please stay safe and subscribe to my channel. Bye!